All right. This time last year, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're doing something from through Zoom from up in the press box, and now I just left about 300 people over there in Harvey Hall, and some kind of a game day set up, talking about the signing class, and we're back in here together. So what a difference a year makes. And we had bowl practice this morning, so it's been a good year, but exciting day. Exciting day for Pirate Nation. We welcome 18 new Pirates with the beginning of our signing class. That's another thing that's probably changing and evolving more and more, is just how recruiting works at the collegiate level. And but very excited about these young men joining our program. Very excited about where the program is right now, where it's headed. Excited about the bowl preparations and the matchup against Boston College. So lots to talk about today.
Coach, we'll start with the offensive line. You guys signed 4 high school kids, and then also the transfer in Parker Moore. Maybe start with the high school guys, which I like about that group, and then hit on Moore, if you will.
Well, I think obviously that was the emphasis on offense. It's kind of the same as we did my first year here with recruiting all those young defensive linemen that we're watching play right now. Is we've got to significantly build that room to a higher level to continue to ascend as a program. And I think that you look at the high school guys. I'll start with Amari Allen. Incredible potential. I mean, just incredible potential. I see a Noah Henderson type ability level, and he's very raw, but a big kid. We told him he needed to lose some weight. He lost a ton of weight, moving around very, very well, extremely athletic. I think he has an incredibly high ceiling. You look at Ethan Lang, IMG Academy. So he plays on the national team. So he's playing against the best players in the country. He was their I think starting guard and center this year. I think he started at guard, played a lot at center. We see him being a college center. But I think he's a guy that he's coming in January. I think he's a guy that, you never want to put too much on a freshman, but he's a guy that maybe you could see, at least traveling next year, maybe playing a little bit. I think, Jacob Sacra is the other one, very similar to Ethan. Played at St. Francis Academy, which is the only team to beat IMG this year. And Jacob is, according to your bunch, 247, the highest rated offensive lineman to ever sign at East Carolina. And then you look at Eli Samples out of Georgia, and just a young man, very good athlete, played multiple positions for them. We see him most likely being a tackle for us. A guy that'll come in, probably look to develop him a little bit more with his body, but I think he's another one that has a very high ceiling. And then you transition, look at the transfer, Parker Moore from West Virginia. Here's a guy that played in 10 games in the Big 12, started 5, played very, very well, from North Carolina, from Charlotte. High school teammate of Ryan Jones, which was a connection for us. Family wanted him close to home. Family wanted him in a different kind of environment, different kind of locker room, and so excited to get him. I think he'll contribute immediately.
Got a lot of folks at West Craven excited.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah.
It's CJ. We've been recruiting him all along, and got to meet Chandre throughout the process. And of course, Chandre played against us this year. Had a very good game against us. He was all conference down there at Charleston Southern. He was their best D lineman. And when he went into the transfer portal, he reached out to us. We've been having ongoing conversations, and it's something that I really wanted to do. He only has 1 year, so you say, well, why take a guy that's only got 1 year? And for me, it goes back to a couple things. It goes back to that family, and Mom wanted Chandre close to home. His other offers were distance, where she would not be able to see him play, or at least very little. CJ and Chandre wanted to play 1 more year together. And then just as I got to know Chandre, just high character, work ethic, great motor. He's going to be a good player. He'll help us. I think he'll be a good older guy in that room. But I think he's another guy that just fits our culture. So, it wasn't a deal where we had to, CJ was going to sign anyway with us, but it was more of, so I think it's two separate guys, but it is a pretty neat story to get, two brothers together for a year.
Y'all had to hold off some pretty good competition for Marlon Gunn
Yeah.
late. Talk about getting him signed.
Well, just excited. Now, so, I was talking to him while we were in the middle of practice out there, and just, I flew down to see he and Mom on Friday. He was up here for, a game earlier in the season, and just a guy, again, high character, good size for a back, really good speed. I think he has very high-end ability, which is the reason why you had some Power Fives trying to come in on him late. But just really excited to get him. We've got a good running back room right now, but we all know that those guys are not going to, you can't sign a lifetime contract, to stay here forever. So, he's a guy that I think will come in and he'll challenge for playing time, and he'll be a guy that will contribute, and he'll be a really good player for us in time.
Coach, do you feel like with the transfer portal where it's at, you might have got some high school kids that maybe you might not have had a shot at in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think recruiting is going to change permanently for the foreseeable future. I don't know what it's going to look like with the name and image likeness stuff. And, you look at Tennessee, every offensive lineman at Tennessee, I think is $50,000 a year or something. I mean, when you're starting to talk about that kind of money for recruits, I don't know what's going to look like. I mean, I wonder. There's got to be some regulation somewhere, but I think the transfer piece is going to change how you recruit high schools. For us, philosophy-wise, I still want to recruit high school kids. I'm big on recruiting, developing. You get your kind of culture, character guy. But now, if you recruit a high school kid, now he can leave, and that's another piece with the transfer portal. If you recruit a transfer, at least they're tied to you. But I think it's going to be a balancing act. You're going to recruit a little bit of everything, but that's also why I said this is the beginning of this year's class, because you'll see us add possibly a couple of guys before January spring semester starts. I think you'll probably see us add some more in May. So I think this is going to be something that's going to be an ongoing process.
Going off that, when you met with recruits, did y'all talk about name, image, and likeness, like the opportunities at ECU? Do you compare them, like, hey, here's what maybe Holton did, and do y'all look at that stuff?
Well, Holton's got such a good deal going. I don't know what all he's got. So, but I do. The one thing I did say about it is I do think this area will be, a place where student athletes will benefit maybe more so than some of our peer institutions from name and image likeness. Because you have such a passionate fan base. This is a college town. There's not a pro sport in Greenville. It's ECU football, and so the opportunity is there for a business to endorse, get an endorsement from a student athlete, where there's fans that are passionate enough to where they'll participate in the name and image likeness stuff. So now I need our fan base to step up and do that now. So these local businesses to do that, but. So we did talk about it from that standpoint, but it's not, not to the point where we're talking any kind of figures or anything. No.
Adding some length with Sam Donka, 6'5", 213. Do you see him sticking in the secondary, or where do you think he ultimately ends up?
I think Sam's going to get here and get on the training table and get in there with Big John, and he's going to be a big human being. So I think he's going to be like some of the guys that we have that have started out in the secondary and they've grown, and you just see how the body develops, but he has a lot of length. He's extremely athletic. He's very explosive. So I think you take that kind of athlete every day.
With no quarterback, I guess, coming right now, does that sort of talk about the room you have right now and you're happy about it and you can use those spots elsewhere, or just?
Well, that's it. I like the quarterbacks we have in our program right now. I think that we are set for next year. We are set for the foreseeable future. I do think that is a room that you got to continue to keep your hand on the pulse, and just make sure, because you look at some teams. You can be on your third quarterback in a hurry, so you got to make sure you keep depth in that room. But I like our room that we have right now.
Personality-wise, Nemo seems to be as good as anybody I've interviewed. Just have you ever kind of encountered a high school recruit that's maybe that polished at his age?
Well, I think it says a lot about his parents. You know, when he came up here on his visit this summer for camp, I spent a lot of time with his mom and dad. Dad's a minister. Nemo's a very mature kid. He's big in the community down there. I mean, if you go anywhere around Dillon, South Carolina, now they're all Nemo Squire fans, and so I think that's part of him. That's part of what makes him special. He's going to be a high character, hard worker, tough guy that has some ability, and I just thought he would be really, really good for that running back room.
Any other positions you guys are looking at? You know, I know y'all still have a few targets out there,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, but what areas maybe do you still want to shore up?
I don't think we're necessarily done at the offensive line. I think we'll continue to look to maybe add another older guy in that room. And I think you'll see us add probably an older receiver in that room, and you could see us add the right defensive guy. So I just think that you're going to take a step back, and there's still some guys that have been that we've had here on campus that we're still recruiting that haven't made decisions yet. And there's, I think once you get past the bowl games, you're going to see another kind of wave of guys in the portal.
Speaking of bowl game, how has practice been going for that, and what's your remaining schedule like before you guys take off?
Well, we practice through final exams, so there's lots of different thoughts on how to do bowl practice. The big thing for me is I wanted to make sure that the kids had an opportunity to see their families before Christmas. It's growing up, you're always around your parents at Christmas, and that's not going to be the case this year. So we practiced up until today. Practiced this morning, which that was interesting too, trying to do signing day and practice at the same time. But and then they're off for the next couple of days. You got graduation on Friday, so you have a lot of families coming into town for that. We have quite a few guys that are getting their diplomas, getting their degrees on Friday, and then we'll come back in on Sunday and start game week. Practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Head up to DC on Thursday, then practice a couple of days up there before the game.
How's the young kids having practice with the extra practices for the bowl game?
Good. We took a little bit of time right after the Cincinnati game, and those first practices, that week and a half there to start, really the older guys didn't get many reps. The young guys got a lot of reps. We had a lot of individual time with them. We did some periodic, kind of live scrimmages, them running our offense and running our defense, and so I think it was really good to get a chance to coach. Some of those guys have been kind of away from their position groups a lot this fall, so it was good to get a chance to coach those guys. And I talked to a lot of them about that. You need to take advantage of this month. We kind of switched gears starting this week back to a more traditional. They're running Boston College's offense, defense, special teams, and the travel team's getting most of the reps. So we're back in that mode now. But I thought there was a lot of good that came out of it.
Are there any individual guys? Because basically redshirt, I think every true freshman outside of maybe Slade and maybe some of the transfers, but like Troy Lewis, likely, were there any of those guys step up during those early practices that kind of caught your attention?
Well, I think you saw some of why you thought Troy could play here. I thought you saw some of that. I think he needs more development physically, but you saw some of that stuff from a guy like him. I think Kerry King, who first half of the season was injured, played just a little bit. I think he's really come on during this bowl practice, and excited about possibilities for him, getting on the field and helping us. You look at young Richard Pierce on the offensive line, getting a chance to have Shank spend time with him. I think Isaiah Foote, he played some this year, but he got a lot of reps during this bowl practice time. Really seeing him come on. Now he's looking more and more like a guy that's ready to be possibly a starting offensive lineman in this league. Some of the young DBs trying to see, are they going to be ready to play next year? I think that's you saw some potential athletically there. So I just think you kind of saw a lot of that. Unfortunately, really, Pop was really coming on the second half of the season, and you start thinking that, you know, he's got a chance to, you know, be ready to play in the bowl game, really be a guy that's really ready to play by next year. He tweaked his hamstring and has missed, you know, virtually the entire, all the practice. And so that's been frustrating.
What stands out, looking at BC, what stands out to you the most and challenge?
I think big, physical, strong, very well coached. Obviously the quarterback is, you know, going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country next year. I think he's projected to be, you know, first, second round draft pick. You know, they're going to try to ball control us, try to line up, and they're going to try to line up and run over us, and then they're going to play action 7-man protect, and he's going to throw the ball about 70 yards down the field to that little fast receiver number 4. So I just think it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us defensively to try to you know, get their offense off the field. And I think on the other side, you look defensively, they're built to complement that. I think they're number 1 pass defense in the ACC, number 4 nationally, big up front. Their kids play really, really hard, really, really aggressive. You know, just make you kind of work for everything you get. And that's, you know, that's what you think when you think of what Boston College, you know, a Massachusetts team, that's kind of what you think they would be like, and that's what they are. I think, you know, Coach has done a great job of, you know, kind of his identity and the identity of that region. You know, that's what this team looks like.
During a typical game week, you get what, maybe 5 days or so to prepare for an opponent. This time you get, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks or so. Is there, I guess, how does that sort of change what you guys do? And is there maybe a danger of overloading some kids, or how do you kind of, you know, balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the positive of taking a couple of days off right now. I think the kids kind of need to catch their breath, get away from each other a little bit. I think the coaching staff needs to catch their breath, get away from each other a little bit. So, and I think also, the one thing that you kind of hinted at right there, we got to be careful we don't try to do too much. Certainly, you're going to be able to do some wrinkles and some things that maybe you haven't shown during the regular season, or sharpen up on some things, but you got to make sure that you don't overload the kids with trying to do too much in one game. So I think our game plans are, you know, very solid, you know, as far as we know what kind of what we want to try to do. I think we have a good feel for what they are. And now I just think we got to have a great week of practice next week and be ready to execute at a very high level, and we're going to play our tails off. Anything else? All right, thanks a lot. Go Pirates.